I've chosen something a little different to talk about today. It's probably my favourite project of 2025. I think the primary focus in Aberdeen has been around the short-term lets, because for me it offers a huge short-term let rental market. We're not focusing on what's been the best city for the last 10 years. We're taking an educated viewpoint on what's the best investment place for the next 10 years, and I think that's very much where Aberdeen comes in.
That's it. Alongside me today, I've got Richard Jones. Rich,
Hi, Mike.
thanks for joining us. So, Rich, you've been in the industry how long
23 years now.
23 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit of a different background initially.
Yeah, absolutely. So graduated from university in 2002, did a real estate management degree. Did my first 7 years in property as a chartered surveyor. And then moved to the more people-facing side, and I've been a property agent for the last 16 now.
Yeah, brilliant. And then in terms of the actual development or property that you've picked out, Rich, what have you chosen, and what's the reason sort of why with that?
I've chosen something a little different to talk about today. It's probably my favourite project of 2025. I've chose City Point in Aberdeen. So
City Point in Aberdeen, Rich, I mean, we were selling this particular development off plan, weren't we? So just talk us through number of units, what type of build was it? What was on the market for it?
So it's a very central investment property. It's a conversion of current office into 23 residential apartments.
Right in the centre of Aberdeen, wasn't it? It couldn't be a better location in terms of the city itself.
It is. Location. It's in Aberdeen's West End. It's about 200 metres away from the city centre, but it has almost a quiet village side street feel to it.
Yeah. And the development itself, there was a mixture, wasn't there? There was 1, 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. So a bit of a mixture for everyone. Obviously, it was open to investors, hence ourselves involved, but owner-occupiers could equally have bought these apartments.
Absolutely.
As well. Good size units and everything like that.
Very big units, which was one of the attractive selling points I found. Very spacious, as you get with quite a few conversions, to be fair. Had something for everyone in terms of size and specification. I mean, the one beds were starting around 140,000. But what was really attractive is the 2 beds were only 175,000 and the 3 beds were only 200,000. So everything was under the 200,000 threshold, which again is attractive for investors.
That's it. And as we mentioned, the clients were purchasing off plan, so they were putting down 25% of the purchase price at the point of exchange of contracts, weren't they? Then, and obviously having to wait during that build time, which we've sold a number of those types of developments over the years. And often, you're buying in the right areas, you can see that growth, can't you, over that?
Absolutely.
That period of time.
Well, it was a classic off-plan model, so it was 5,000 to reserve on day one. And then obviously when you exchange, which was quite quick in the Scottish process, that was the big difference from selling in England, we found. So the Scottish process was quick to exchange. It was 25% down minus the 5,000. And with the turnaround in growth in Aberdeen, you're right, Mike, we've been looking at the data as we always do, and there's been a good couple, 2 to 3% growth during that build period, if not a little more.
Yeah, that's it. And we sort of feel like we're entering into the Aberdeen market at the point where so much growth potential, wasn't there? And there's a lot of history of that particular city of over the years where it has sort of went quite low and then it's shot up, hasn't it? It's got that style, probably because of the oil background, I'm guessing, with it, that sort of thing. But we'd done a lot of research at the time to see where can it go, and it certainly felt like we were entering in just at the right sort of time, didn't it?
Absolutely agree. I believe that investors have bought into City Point in Aberdeen at the very bottom of the market. The data sets that we looked at when we took the project on, you could see, for example, a 3-bed in this particular location before the net zero pledge was selling for around 400,000. So if we're selling these apartments now at 200,000, I guess our focus has this been the very bottom of the market, and does it leave the capital growth upside for the investor? I think there's a lot of room for the investment to grow back into its original scheme.
Yeah, that's it. And that's obviously the growth side, which unfortunately you can never guarantee. You can only give forecasts and look at data with it. In terms of the actual income, though, for it, Rich, it's one of those developments where there's twofold, isn't it? You have the traditional buy-to-let route, so the long-term tenant that you can put into the property, or you can go down the serviced accommodation, short-term lets route as well. So it's double-edged for investors?
Absolutely. I think the primary focus in Aberdeen has been around the short-term
Yeah.
lets, because for me it offers a huge short-term let rental market. If you think about the setup and the location of Aberdeen, you have the oil, gas, and now the renewable energy
Yeah.
sectors. You have the financial sectors.
Mm-hmm.
You have the massive golf market, and you have 25,000 students in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
So essentially, locationally, with it being so far north in Scotland and having 25,000 students, we're expecting a lot of the leisure shorter term stays in there as well, because you can't really go to Aberdeen for a day trip.
No, yeah, that's it. And the likes of the Shell offices, one of their offices was just literally across the road, wasn't it? So close to the development itself. So, the amount of potential bookings from that type of thing as well, with one of their headquarters, was huge as well.
Very exciting. I mean, Aberdeen, with Shell relocating their headquarters back in there for the first time in 8 years, that's a huge indicator of where the city's going to go, we feel.
Yeah. And this goes back to something we've mentioned on the course, is about finding stories in particular areas and cities and stuff like that. What have they got planned for future years? And Aberdeen was certainly one of those sort of locations where you could look back at its history and say, well, it was a success. And now you think, it's got its chance as well. But like I said, even just it being a big city itself, you've still got your usual, doctors, nurses, big hospitals, universities, like you mentioned, so lecturers, students, parents visiting. The usual pool that you get from a big city like that is there, as well as this sort of niche oil and renewable energy side of it as well. So exciting with it.
Absolutely. Well, I think what we've nailed is we're not focusing on what's been the best city for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
We're taking an educated viewpoint on what's the best investment place for the next 10 years. And I think that's very much where Aberdeen comes in.
Yeah. And in terms of the type of investors that you saw, Rich, over the years that have bought into this development, what's been the mix of people that have chosen it?
So Aberdeen's been really interesting. I think we've seen a number of overseas who've understood Aberdeen's reputation. What we found really interesting is there's been a couple of local buyers, some Scottish buyers that felt like they had to have a piece of real estate in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
We've had our usual investor base from London, where a lot of the UK capital still resides. It's mainly the one theme that's linked them all together. It's been largely investors looking for high income returns and very hands off. And most of them have been very interested in our sort of corporate short-term let model.
And I think it was interesting for us, wasn't it? It was our sort of first full taste of a Scottish development. There's different rules and legislation that comes with that, such as, them all being freehold property or heritable properties, you call it over in Scotland. You had to use a Scottish lawyer to purchase the property as well, which we weren't used to. And that in terms of you needing a short-term let license as well, which we've taught for our investors and shown them exactly how you go about acquiring that license. But it just shows that, different areas, different locations, you do have to keep an eye on that and just see what the differences were. And Scotland was certainly a nuance that.
It was challenging from research perspective. I mean, it was really interesting to see the difference between the English and the Scottish process. The legal fees were far cheaper in Scotland.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
The buying speed was much cleaner and quicker.
Yeah.
The stamp duty was more expensive, which investors have to get comfortable with from the outset. They were the main differences I found.
Yeah, and this is the whole weighing it up. When you're assessing a deal, it's looking at, like you say, it's those extra costs maybe on the stamp duty, but reduced cost on legal fees, putting it into that spreadsheet and seeing what your numbers are, which you, particularly Rich, are a big fan of numbers and going through all of that. So this is a prime example of that.
Yeah. So I live on spreadsheets, and it was very important to lay out the numbers to the investors. And what we found, particularly with Aberdeen, is it offered extremely high nightly rates as an investment opportunity. So it made the overall package on the income side extremely attractive.
Yeah, brilliant. And we've seen it ourselves when we've tried to actually book apartments. Now that it's come to completion, the development, it's not been easy. There's, hotels are fully booked and all that sort of thing. So it shows the demand in the area for more properties.
It does. Well, it's definitely not down to a lack of supply. No, it's down to the buoyant short-term rental market. And I've personally struggled twice in Aberdeen, stayed in some lovely places. It's a beautiful city. I was blown away by how nice it was.
Yeah. And in terms of the management side of it, as I mentioned, so we've now completed on the development. And as you may or may not know, we're based in Chester. It's a long way to to drive and travel up to Aberdeen. But we have a housekeeping team on the ground there that help with, any check-ins, cleans, everything like that. So valuable getting those housekeeping teams right with it, and we make sure we team up with the right people for it as well, to be able to manage in different locations as well. That works.
It certainly makes my job easier as a salesman anyway, with the fantastic support that the short-term let team do at the front end of the project to make it systemized is integral to its long-term success. The end apartments are looking beautiful as well. So, thanks to the developer for delivering such a quality project.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's a really good choice, I think, Richard. Like you say, it was an exciting project, Aberdeen, when we got involved. We learned a lot over the years with it, with the different rules and regulations. But yeah, that's one definitely to keep an eye on in the future.
Absolutely.